darkness light. Before thee, what is wrong, I'll make it right. Before thee, all thy battles I will fight. Before thee, and the high place I'll bring down. When thou walkest by the way, I will lead thee. On the fattest of the land, I'll feed thee. And the mansion in the sky.
Simply exhilarated to bring you an internationally acclaimed scholar, activist, and public intellectual of our time. Introducing her would simply be a task that would take part of the program, probably a third of it. So what I thought I would do is first to let all my viewers know that Frances Lappé does not need an introduction. She is already well known. So what I am going to do, by way of introducing her, is to introduce what admiring readers and critics are saying about one of her most important books, a seminal book, as a matter of fact, that is going to frame and shape visions of possibilities for human beings for a long time to come. Consider, for example, what one reviewer from the Washington Post said to the first edition of Getting a Grip. There is a beautiful second edition, by the way, that is aesthetically much more pleasing than the first. And the content, too, she was telling me, is considerably stretched to include some perennial themes that she might have time in future programs to address herself to. And we're going to talk about some of the addendum towards the end. So consider, for example, what a reviewer in the Washington Post says. Some of the 20th century's most vibrant activist thinkers have been American women. Margaret Mead, Jeanette Rankin, Barbara Wood, Dorothy Day, who took it upon themselves to pump life into basic truths. Frances Moore Lappé is among them. High tribute. Another admirer who recently died to the detriment of the human condition because he was such a vibrant dissector and a student of the human condition, namely Howard Zinn, historian and the author of the world-famous text called People's History of the U.S. Consider, for example, what Howard Zinn, while alive, said about Frances Moore Lappé's work. There is a small number of people in every generation who are forerunners in thought, action, spirit, who swerve past the barriers of greed and power, to hold a torch high for the rest of us. Frances Moore Lappé is one of those. Second major tribute. And finally, another critique. Like her earlier work, Getting a Grip connects readers' personal passions with actions they can take right now to help create the world they want. Flouting tired right versus left thinking, she affirms readers' basic sanity, their intuition that it is possible to stop grasping at straws and grasp the real roots of our local to global crises. Writing with energy and heart, Lappé convinces us we really can go for it. And finally, before I depart from the camp of introducing her, consider, for example, the enumeration of some of her books, only some of them, and more will come out in the future, considering how energetic and how resourceful she is. Democracy's Age, choosing to save our country by bringing democracy to life. Another book, You Have the Power, choosing courage in a culture of fear. Hope's Age, the next diet for Small Planet, with Anna Lappé, your daughter.
Yes.
The Quickening of America, Rebuilding Our Nation, Remaking Our Lives, with Paul Martin Du Bois. Diet for Small Planet, famous. Millions read it and millions swear by it, and for some of them it is simply a Bible. Taking Population Seriously, with Rachel Schuman. Rediscovering America's Values, Betraying the National Interest, World Hunger, 12 Myths, with Joseph Collins, Peter Rosset, and Luis Peraza. What to do after you turn off the TV? What a title. It will give you a job. And now we can speak with Joseph Collins again. Aid as Obstacle, with Joseph Collins and David Kinley. Mozambique and Tanzania, asking the big questions, thinking about the African condition. We're so grateful. And finally, Food First, Beyond the Myth of Scarcity. Remarkable. It took me about 5 minutes to simply list the books. Imagine how long it take me, and how many programs I will have to do to interview her about each and every of these books. And now, we'll get started. What I thought we can do, Francis, for the sake of my viewers. My viewers, I must tell you, are very philosophical. They are interested in serious matters. They may want to know your understanding of human beings, a discussion of human nature.
Well, I want to start there, so I am delighted that that's where you want to start, because I've come to believe that it is who we believe we are, our very basic idea of what is our nature. Everything flows from that. And unfortunately, in the culture that I've been born into, the dominant, the ingrained notion is that we are, if you peel away the fluff, that we're really selfish and competitive and materialistic. And so I've wondered, how true is that? How true is that? And what I've come to is a much more complex view that we can behave that way. That does show up a lot in today's culture here in the United States, but we are also, and we are evolved to be deeply social people. And so I've identified quite a number of what I think of as the pro-social qualities in us that evolved because we evolved in tightly knit tribes where our survival depended upon one another. And my most recent discovery, my new hero, is an anthropologist, Sarah Blaffer Hardy, who explains how we and why we evolved these deeply pro-social qualities. By that I mean our cooperative nature, our sense of fairness, our empathetic proclivities, that we feel what other people feel. I mean, just think of, when you see somebody stub their toe, you go like that too, because we're just wired that way. As well as our what one a developmental psychologist calls our capacity for shared intentionality, our love of teamwork, how we can come together as no other creatures can and come up with ideas that we want to manifest together. So what I've come to is that human beings are these very complex creatures that, yes, we can be brutal, we can be evil, not just a few of us, but most of us, as we saw, for example, in the Holocaust. I mean, that wasn't just a few crazies that carried out that horrific genocide. Many people participated. So we know that we can be that way. Most of us can. And yet we know that we also have these deeply pro-social qualities that evolved in tightly knit communities. So my thesis in all of my writing is that now, especially with these new breakthroughs in neuroscience and psychology and anthropology, we know that we have these deeply what I call soft-wired qualities, because they evolve, but they can be overridden in the wrong circumstances, but we know they're in most of us. So now we know how to create so the question in all my writing is, given that we know we have these great qualities, what are the conditions that bring those out? And so that really is the theme of all of what I'm doing, that maybe for the first time that we can stop wondering, why there is so much brutality in the world, and we can say, look, we know most people, we love, for example, the neuroscientists have looked at our brains when we're through the MRI, scanners, when we're cooperating and when we're competing, and they find that when we cooperate, that the parts of our brains that are stimulated are the same as when we eat